How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. If this is your first time here, my name is Edgar and this channel is about personal finance, real estate investing, stock market investing, and personal development. So if that is something you want to learn about, make sure you are subscribed. Today we're going to be talking about the things you should and shouldn't do when you get paid. What happens with most people is when they get their paycheck, they take it to the bank or they get a direct deposit, and from there they begin spending their money, and some of that money goes to pay for things like the rent, the car payment, and the groceries. But many times people spend their money on going out to eat or shopping, and when it comes time to pay bills, they barely have enough. So the first thing you shouldn't do when you get paid is let other people know you got paid. And I know that sounds pretty weird, but when you get paid and you tell other people, most of them are not going to tell you to invest 10%. No, they're going to tell you to go out for drinks, go shopping with them, or something else that's going to lead you to spend money. So whenever you get paid, whether it's your paycheck or a fat commission check, just keep it to yourself. The second thing you shouldn't do when you get paid is gamble with your money or fall victim to get rich quick schemes. For example, let's say you just got paid $5,000 and you're thinking, how can you turn your $5,000 into $50,000? And then you remember a story you heard about Fred Smith, who happens to be the founder of FedEx, and how his company needed $24,000 to stay afloat. So he took the company's last $5,000, went to Vegas and won $27,000, which was enough to keep his company going, and now he's a billionaire. And although that story is true, taking your money and gambling with it is one of the dumbest things you can do. And even though it worked out for Fred, the chances you can turn your $5,000 into $27,000 are not very high. And this also applies to spending your money on lottery tickets. I mean, the odds of winning the Powerball jackpot is about 1 in 292 million, and the odds of winning the Mega Millions jackpot is about 1 in 302 million. So whenever you spend money on things like that, it's like throwing money in the trash and thinking a genie is going to come out and hand you $1 million. It just won't happen. The third thing you shouldn't do when you get paid is make impulse purchases. What many people do is when they get their paycheck, they spend, and then they run out of money, so they start living off ramen and borrowing money for gas. So even though you might be tempted to go buy yourself the new camera you really want or the new TV, you need to control your spending, and instead of buying something on impulse, you should create a saving plan where you can afford to buy what you want without leaving yourself broke until your next paycheck. A lot of these things I mentioned might seem like common sense, and for the most part it is common sense, but even then many people still continue these bad habits when they get paid, and then they wonder why they cannot get ahead financially. So now that you know what you shouldn't do when you get paid, we can move on to the things you should do, and the first thing is you need to pay yourself first. Now this is something many successful people advise, and if you read the book The Richest Man in Babylon, then you know what I'm talking about. If you're like most people, then the first thing you do when you get your paycheck is pay your bills like the rent or mortgage, the utilities, your phone bill, your car payment, and everything else that you need to pay, which is great because that means you are responsible and you will not get evicted or get your car repossessed. But you need to ask yourself how much you're paying yourself. For most people, the answer will be nothing or very little. But if you want to be financially successful, you need to make paying yourself your number one priority. Now there are quite a few ways you can pay yourself, and the first option happens before you even get your paycheck, and that is putting money into a retirement account. Now one of the more common ways to invest for retirement is through a 401k, which is offered by many employers for their employees. According to the US Census Bureau, 2/3 of Americans don't take advantage of their employer's 401k program, and it could be you don't know that your employer offers a 401k, or maybe you started contributing but you stopped for one reason or another. Either way, participating in a 401k plan or other retirement contribution plan will be the foundation of your retirement, and if you start investing into a 401k now and you continue to do so throughout your working years, you could retire a millionaire. Now there are a few benefits to taking advantage of a 401k, and the first benefit you get is that 401k contributions are before tax money, which means that the amount you decide to invest into your 401k is deducted from your paycheck before the IRS can reach in and take out taxes. Because of this, you are paying taxes on a smaller amount of your overall salary, and this could bring you down into a lower tax bracket, which means you pay less in taxes. Now there are limits to how much you can contribute to your 401k in a given year. So if you're someone making $200,000 a year, you cannot just put $100,000 into your 401k and avoid paying taxes on that money. Now the second benefit of paying yourself through a 401k is that when you begin making withdrawals in retirement, the tax bracket you're in could be lower than when you were working. However, don't get confused by the fact that your contributions are made before you pay taxes on your earnings, because your 401k investments are tax deferred, not tax free. What this means is that you will end up paying taxes on the amount you withdraw in retirement, and as I mentioned before, your tax rate during retirement could be lower than when you were working. Now this could be for a couple of reasons, but one reason is you could have lived in a state with high income taxes during the time you were working, but then once you retire, you move to a state with no state income taxes. Or another reason is that when you were employed, you were earning a higher amount and thus you were in a high tax bracket, but once you retire, you own your house and you don't have any kids to support. So you're able to live on a lower dollar amount every year, so the money withdrawn from your 401k is less, which means you pay less in taxes. Now there are other ways you can invest for retirement, like through a Roth IRA, and if you want a breakdown of the differences between these two accounts, I have another video where I discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the 401k and Roth IRA, and there will be a link for that video down below. Now another way you can pay yourself is by putting money into a savings account that will be used as an emergency fund. It is estimated that about 40% of Americans wouldn't be able to cover a $400 expense with cash or savings. And while saving for an emergency fund might not be the most interesting or most exciting financial goal, your emergency fund is the foundation for your entire financial future. And the reason is there will always be an expense that you were not expecting, and when you don't plan and prepare for those emergencies, you will resort to using debt, and over time that can have a negative effect on your financial life. Now this money should only be for emergencies, and going on vacation or going shopping is not an emergency, so do not spend that money on things like that. Now a third option you have for paying yourself is putting money into investments outside of your retirement account. The reason you want to invest outside of your 401k or IRA is because that money can only be used once you get to retirement, unless you want to pay a penalty for making an early withdrawal. So if you're in your 30s or 40s, you still have to wait many years before you can use the money in your 401k or IRA. But when you invest outside of that account, you can use that money whenever you want for whatever you want. Now when it comes to investing this money, you have a few options on how to do that, and the first option is by investing in the stock market, and you can do this by investing a constant amount every week or every month, and this strategy is known as dollar cost averaging. Or you can also save up and wait until you see a great buying opportunity, and you can buy a large amount of shares at once. Then if you decide you want to invest in real estate, it will take you a little longer to save up enough money for a down payment. So in that case, you can keep your savings in a safe place until you have enough money to buy real estate, and once you do, that money can be invested in property. Now these are just a few ways you can pay yourself first, and depending on your current financial situation, that will determine how much of your paycheck is used to pay yourself first and what that money is used for. So if your current paycheck is not very large, then you can start off saving 1 or 2%, and once you begin earning more, then you can increase that amount. However, if you are someone earning a high income, then you can easily take a bigger percentage of your paycheck and use that to pay yourself. Now different financial advisors recommend different saving targets, but they normally range between 5 to 20%. But obviously, the more you can save, the better off you'll be. So after you pay yourself, the second thing you should do when you get your paycheck is budget your money, and this is where many people go wrong. Most people get their paycheck direct deposited, or they get a physical check that they take to the bank. And most people just begin paying rent, making their car payment, paying utilities, and paying their bills, along with spending on things that they want. And before they know it, all their money is gone, and they're left wondering where it all went. So when you create a budget, you're telling your money where to go, and this way you will know exactly where your money went. Now there are many ways you can budget, but the way I like doing it is by breaking it up into two parts, and the first part will be a breakdown of how much money is coming in. And for most people, this will be their main paycheck, but if you receive any rental income, dividends, or even tips, that should be listed in this part of your budget. And then the second part of your budget will be your expenses, and this will include anything from your rent to your car insurance and even the $1 or $2 you spend on a parking meter. Then once you know where your income and expenses are, you can begin setting spending targets for each category. For example, you could allocate 50% of your monthly income for necessities, which will include things like car insurance, rent, groceries, utilities, and so on. Then you could have 10% going towards entertainment, which are things like dining out, going to the movies, or going to a concert. Then you could have savings for a bigger purchase or expense. Maybe your car is getting to the point where it's costing you more to repair it than getting a newer one, so that would be a great example of a big purchase. So maybe 5% of your income can go towards this, and you will continue this until every dollar in your budget has a purpose. Then once that is complete, you can move on to the third step you should take once you get paid, and that is to pay your necessities first. What many people do is once they get their paycheck, they see all this money in their account, so they go shopping or they go out for drinks. And then when it comes time to pay bills, they are stressed because they don't have enough money. And this is the complete opposite of how you should go about it. Even simple things like filling up your car with gas, buying groceries for the upcoming week, and setting some money aside for rent and utilities can really make a difference in helping you manage your money. Then after that, you can pay anything else that is important but isn't as important as your basic needs, and that could be anything from your work clothes to making the payments on your credit cards. And even though in your budget you should have allocated a certain amount for necessities and a certain amount for your wants, it's still a better idea to pay the important stuff first, because if something costs more than you expected or you miscalculated how much you will need to spend on necessities, it can put you in a bad financial position. Now, something important to mention is you shouldn't feel the need to spend everything. For example, if you allocated $300 for your wants and you only spent $200, then you shouldn't look for ways to spend the extra $100 just because it was in the wants part of your budget. Instead, look for more productive ways to use that money, and that can mean you invest it, it goes into your emergency fund, or you put it towards paying down debt. So with that being said, these are the things you should and shouldn't do once you get paid. If you found any of this information helpful or you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.